Welcome to this video on how to apply to a DSA Pathways Middle School Conservatory. We're so glad you're here. So this video is for students and families who are interested in applying to any of our 4 middle school arts conservatories. You can see here that those 4 schools that offer this Pathways program are Brenda Scott Academy, Duke Ellington, John R. King, and Spain. At each of these schools, this Pathways program is offered in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. Now, if you're a student who's interested in our Detroit School of Arts Premier Performing Arts High School, then you will want to apply at this Detroit School of Arts site right here, okay? But today we're going to focus on the Middle School Conservatory. Now, before we do that, there's a couple things that we want to make sure you have ready so that you are set up for success. Number 1, you'll want to make sure to have an electronic device. So in this video, we're going to walk through the application together using a laptop or a desktop screen, but you can definitely go through this process on your phone. Number 2, you're going to want to have an email address readily available. Now students, if you're watching this video, it's really important that the email address that you have is one that is tied to your parent or guardian's email account. So we'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then the third thing is if you are a current student at any of our DPSCD schools, then you will want to have your student's ID because you'll need that to enter into your application as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to move pretty swiftly, but remember you can pause at any time and go back. So when you are looking to access and start your application, you want to be sure to open a browser, and we highly recommend that you use Google Chrome, okay? So once you have your Google Chrome browser up, you're then going to want to go to detroitk12.org/DSA Pathways. And this screen should look familiar. We saw it just a little bit ago. And remember, so for students who are interested in our middle school conservatory program, you're going to want to select this bottom yellow ribbon. And from there, a screen should pop up that looks like this. So as you scroll down, you're going to see there's a lot of information on this page, right? So there's application requirements, there's general guidelines. This is all really important information, and we encourage you to take a minute to read through it. But for this video, there's 2 things that we want to highlight in this section. So when you scroll down, you will see that there's a lot of information around audition guidelines. So the first thing to point out is that a really exciting part of this Pathways program is that there are 6 individual arts tracks. So let's scroll through those together here real quick. So we've got instrumental music, vocal music, visual art and design, dance, theater, and then at Brenda Scott Academy, they offer a unique multimedia production arts track. So as you're scrolling through, you'll see that several of these various arts tracks do require an audition. And we just want you to know that there are a couple options for those performance auditions. As you're going through the application, you can either upload your performance as a video or as an attachment, or you'll have the option to actually schedule a live virtual performance. So that's just something to keep in mind as we start the application. So let's go ahead and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And another key thing to point out is that Mr. Richard Sperling is our fantastic point of contact for our DSA Middle School Conservatory. So as you're going through this application, if you have any questions about the application or the admissions process in general, we welcome you to reach out to Mr. Sperling via email here or his phone number, and he'll be more than happy to assist. All right, and then at the very bottom, you'll see you have a couple options. So if this is your first time seeing this application or coming to this, what we call submittable application portal, then we're going to go ahead and create your account. And so students, this is the really important part where you are setting up an account that will allow you to start your application, for you and your family to start your application. So where it says email, we want you to put in an email that is your parent or guardian's, because that way, whenever you receive any information, whether it's a notification or an update about your application, it will go to your family and your parents so that they can stay in the loop of what's going on with your application. Okay? And then you will, of course, create a password. Be sure to record that somewhere. And for the first and last name, this should reflect the first and last name of the student who is applying. All right, so I already have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And that's exactly what you would do if once you set up your account and you start working on your application, maybe you log out and come back to finish it up, then you would do the very same thing to go ahead and sign in. And you can sign in and sign out as many times as you need to in order to complete your application. All right, so we made it. This is the application itself, and you'll see it looks kind of similar to that initial page that we saw. So there are some reminders about the application requirements, reminders about the general guidelines, and then of course the audition information that we touched on earlier. So again, definitely take some time to read through that information so that you're familiar with what is being expected. But for now, we're going to go ahead and scroll down. So you can see here that I've already entered in some information. So like I said before, this is an example of I already had an account, I had an opportunity to work on my application a little bit, and then I logged out, and now I have a chance to come back in and finish up where I left off. So in this section where it says, I agree to the following statements, there's a couple important things to point out. So the first one is just a reminder that this application must be completed and submitted by a parent or guardian. And as we go through, you'll see that there are a few different sections where the students are invited to submit information, such as the essay questions. Additionally, this section is also saying that you understand that all official communication regarding admissions to the Middle School Arts Conservatory program will be sent to the email address that's associated with your submittable account. So that's what we talked about earlier, why it's really important that whatever email you use when you're creating your account, that it's something that can be accessed by the parent and guardian of the student's family. All right, and then lastly, another important note is that as we're going through this, you'll see that there are follow-up items or updates that you might receive via email. So just know that after you submit this application, it's important to keep an eye on your email for any additional information that the schools might need in order for your application to be complete. And then this is just a final reminder that Mr. Sperling is happy to assist you with any questions that might arise. All right, so as we move along, you will see that there's a general section here to capture the student and parent contact information. Right here, it's important just to note that we want to know the grade that your student is entering in the fall of 2021. So make sure that's the grade that they will be in. And we'll keep scrolling through here. Again, really important to enter in information accurately, so take your time. Okay, and then you will see a question that says, does a student currently attend a DPSCD school? So please note that we are very happy to accept applications from current DPSCD students or non-DPSCD students. So the purpose of this question is that it just helps us know how to best access information depending on where you currently attend school. So let's go ahead and say, yes, I do currently attend a DPSCD school. So that's great. You can keep scrolling down. And the next question is going to say, select all school years that your child was not enrolled in a district school. So really the purpose of this question is, if you are a current DPSCD student, we're going to be able to pull your academic records from the last 2 academic years that you can see here. So 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020. So if you are currently enrolled in one of our DPSCD schools for those 2 academic years, then you can say, my child has been continuously enrolled in DPSCD. No problem. Perfect. So then as you keep going, it will ask you to enter in your student's ID number. And then you can specify specifically what DPSCD school they currently go to. Now, scrolling back up, let's say that you've been going to a DPSCD school this current school year and the year before, but maybe in 2018, your student went to a school that was outside of DPSCD. Again, no problem at all. Just be sure to note that so that later on in the application, you'll have an opportunity to upload your student's transcript or report card so that we can be sure to calculate their GPA into their overall application. Okay. So let's also scroll up to the top and say, for example, that you are a student who does not currently attend a DPSCD school. So the only difference is that as you're going through, it's just going to ask you a couple additional questions that are a little bit different. So we're just going to want to know what school you attend, and you'll be prompted to enter in some more information. All right, so let's keep moving forward. So regardless of if you are a current DPSCD student or a non-DPSCD student, all of this information that we're going to go through here next will be the same. So this is the really exciting part where it says school selection. You'll want to make sure that you know what school you are applying for. So here are the 4 schools, and I'm going to stick with Brenda Scott, and we'll keep scrolling down. Okay, so students, this is the section where we would love for you to be part of the application in partnership with your parents and with your family. So here's where you can say what arts tracks you are interested in. So you have a chance to say what your primary area of interest is. So I selected dance. And then you also have an opportunity to say what your secondary area of interest is, okay? And you'll see here just a friendly reminder that that multimedia production program is only available at Brenda Scott Academy, so keep that in mind. Additionally, even if there's one program that you're super interested in, we highly recommend that you still select a secondary area that you might be a little bit interested in. Because that way, if your first choice is already full, your application will still be considered for your second choice. So keep that in mind. All right. So depending on what you choose for your art tracks will determine on what specific questions pop up in this part of the application. So because I selected dance, it asked me to provide some more information, like what kind of dance have you experienced, and please list any dance classes or performances that you've participated in. So students, this is where you can let the application reviewers know a little bit more about you, about your experience, and what you're interested in. And it's really, really important that, let's say that you are really interested in dance and maybe you don't have a ton of formal or informal experience, but you really love to learn more and develop that talent. That's perfectly fine. We invite you to explain that and let us know that here in this section. All right, so as we keep moving through the application here, again, students, really important to take your time and read these questions carefully and be sure that you're answering the question. And as we scroll down, we're getting towards the home stretch of the application. So for all students, regardless of if you are a current DPSCD student or a non-DPSCD student, you will be asked to submit one reference, okay? So there's a lot of information here. Take a minute to read through it, but let's go ahead and jump to that section. So you will want to identify who you would like your reference to be, and we absolutely recommend that you reach out to the reference and let them know that by serving as your reference, they will be receiving an email with further instructions on how to submit a reference form on your behalf. So if you scroll down, it'll ask you for your reference's phone number, their email address, and then in this section, there's an opportunity to add in a personal message. So this is something that we very much so invite you to do. It's a nice thing as a way to reach out to your reference. It also is helpful context so that when your reference receives an email, they have a little bit more information about what that email is about. So whatever you put in this personal message section, that will be included in the email that we send out to your reference with the instructions on how to submit the recommendation for you. So definitely take a couple minutes to write them a nice note and let them know what you are requesting. So you can see that once you have your reference message written, you do have the option to hit send request now, and your reference will automatically receive an email. The other option is you can wait until you're done with your application, and then once you hit submit on your application, that email will go out to your reference. So I'm going to go ahead and wait and keep going through the application here. All right, so again, some reminders about the audition guidelines. So refresh yourself, get familiar with those details. And we're going to keep scrolling through. So you can see here that this is the section where you have the opportunity to say how you would like to audition. So you can attach the files, you can request that the school contact you to set up a live virtual audition, or to go through an art portfolio. So for example, if you selected the visual arts and design, you could request to do a live virtual meeting to walk through that art portfolio with a evaluation team member. And there's also this last option. So if you are a student who currently attends Brenda Scott, John R. King, Brenda Scott, or Duke Ellington, you could also ask to schedule an audition or a portfolio review with your current school. All right, so we are almost there, everyone. So as we scroll down to this bottom section, remember that at the top of this particular application, I said that I am not currently a DPS City student. So because I'm not currently a district student, I am now prompted to upload two things. Number one, the report card or transcript from the 2019 to 2020 school year, and then number two, my report card or transcript from the 2018 to 2019 school year. So if you are a student who at the top of this application said, I'm a current DPS City student and I have been with the district for these academic school years, then you won't have to update this you will not have to upload this information, okay? So just keep that in mind. All right. And then you'll see as well that for non-district students, it's also going to ask you for any most recent progress report that reflects this current school year. And last but not least, for our non-district families, if you are currently a non-district student, it's also going to prompt you to upload a standardized test score. So there are some options here, and if neither of these options, NWEA or iReady, is relevant to the school you are attending, any other applicable standardized test score is welcome, and the school will follow up with you if there is anything that needs to be worked out with that part. And then you'll see that there is a prompt to ask about special education services. So if you select yes, you will have the opportunity to upload the IEP for your student. And that's really just to make sure that on our end as a district that we are ensuring that we are providing your student with all the proper accommodations. So definitely select yes if you have an IEP so that we can best serve your family. And similar thing for a 504 plan. If your student has a 504 plan, you'll have an opportunity to upload that as well. If you are a current district student, you will not have these prompts come up because we already have that information on file. Okay, so we have made it to the end. So this is where the parent or guardian is going to go ahead and sign their name. You see a couple prompts down here that are going to remind you to check your work, make sure things are accurate, double check that all the documents you've uploaded are legible, and that all your contact information is current and accurate. And finally, you will see that once you hit this exciting submit button, you will receive an email to confirm that your application has been received, and a reminder to please, please, please keep an eye on your email for any additional follow-up information to make sure that your application is complete. Now, last but not least, I'm going to scroll quickly here back to the very top. You'll see that there is a link here that says invite collaborators. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you'll see that in the space, there is an opportunity to collaborate with another adult or family member. So students, if you're working on this application with your family, and maybe you want to send it to a teacher to have them review it, you can type in their email here. You would hit invite, and then that person will automatically be able to access your application. All right, so after you've had a chance to review everything, you feel like your information is accurate and reflects you as a student, then we invite you to go ahead and submit after you select this little box right here that I agree with terms of use. So I'm going to select that, hit submit, and look, so it's telling us that you actually didn't submit everything. So I'm going to go back and say, oh, I'm actually a DPSC student because I misread that question. And I said, oh, okay, no, I am a DPSC student. I'm going to scroll down and say, yes, I have been with the district for the last 2 years. I'm going to enter in my student ID. Okay, and then we're going to scroll down. And let's see if we made it. Oh, so close. And then it's going to ask you to type in where do you currently attend school. Okay, excellent. So if you submitted everything completely on this application, you will get this success message. Double check your email where you should receive a confirmation receipt, and keep an eye on your email for further updates. And we really look forward to reviewing your application.